those of you who don't know my name, I'm Humberto Ortega, and I am a 35, I've been living in the building for 45 years. So I welcome you to my home and to the first West New York Municipal Election Informational Forum. Before I turn it over to my partner in crime, I just want to have a little safety note since we've gone through a lot of inspections and everything. If, in the unlikely event of an emergency, calmly exit the door that you just came in, make a left, and there are two exits that lead to the garage. They're on the left as you walk down. The first one has two double doors. The second one has a clearly marked exit sign. They will both lead you to the garage. So that's it. Without further ado, let me turn it over to Joshua Breckstrom, who's the mastermind of this. This is terrible. Who's the mastermind of this event?
Oh boy. Anyway, I'm really proud to welcome all of you. Local residents, those who are actual members of our group, concerned citizens, those of you who have come tonight who are not actually members, candidates, we really thank you. Victoria Sidro, our representative, our moderator tonight from the League of Women Voters. And thank you for coming. This is a first tonight. So this is the West New York Electoral Forum, sponsored by concerned citizens and moderated by the New Jersey League of Women Voters. So thanks for taking the time to attend tonight. Who are we? Who are these concerned citizens? So when I had an idea for putting together an evening like this one tonight, I first contacted the New Jersey League of Women Voters, and I described us, when they asked, as being somewhat like the Seinfeld show. Now, the Seinfeld show was always described as a show without a plot. So we're an organization of local residents who are concerned about quality of life where we live. And tonight, we'll be hearing the top of the ticket candidates who have respectfully responded to our invitation and taken the time to appear on their positions vis-a-vis many of the very issues which concern us most as a group. Our group, we have no president, we have no board, we have no formal structure. Any one of you who signed up on our email list is just as valuable a part of this organization as anybody else. We initially came together, I think it was about 3 years ago, in response to the proposal to build a high-rise on the site of the former Exxon station over on the corner of 67th and Boulevard East. But very quickly we realized that even more than the question of the building itself, it was the concerns that we shared about the impact that such a building would have on so many aspects of our life here in West New York. Traffic, parking, public transportation, density of population, the threat to the character of our neighborhoods, the loss of light, the loss of views, the loss of our trees. That's what really brought us together as an organization. So a few quick pieces of business. First of all, out of respect to the candidates, please turn off your cell phones. Make sure they're off. In addition to our efforts to create tonight's forum, we've been doing just about everything we can to get the word out about the May 12th election and register voters. And although the deadline for voter registration for the May 12th election is already passed, you have until May 5th to apply to vote by mail. So this voting by mail, personally, I love this thing. You don't have to worry about bad weather on the day of the election. You don't have to be driving around endlessly to try and find parking by the polls. You don't have to worry about lines at the polls. To vote by mail, you gotta do two things, two steps. You send in the simple application, it really is simple. And just a couple of days after you send it in, you are going to receive your ballot from the county clerk, and you can get that in anytime up to the end of the day on election day, and you're set. It's that easy. We have a table in the back that Humberto's leaning against, and we have these applications for voting by mail, and you're welcome to pick them up. If we run out of them, you're welcome to contact us, and we will bring them over to you. We will get you one, and they're great to have. If you're not on our email list, if you're not one of us, please do not leave tonight without signing up. And again, the sign up is on the table in the back of the room. We have lots of events of great interest. They're really like West New York watershed events coming up very, very soon. On May 6th, there's most likely going to be a vote at the zoning board on that Meridia application. That's the building, the high rise that I was referring to just before. Our hope is that the zoning board's going to do the right thing and turn this application down, but if not, we feel really confident that we'll prevail in our fight to stop this damaging proposal on appeal in the courts. And you can bet you'll be receiving an email from us very, very soon about all of that. And of course, the election on May 12th. So I want to just add one more thing before I turn everything over to Vicki. When I think back to where we came from, like the beginning of this organization, there was like 7 or 8 of us in the library at the Versailles trying to figure out what to do about that high-rise proposal that we just found out about. And now, you know, we have 900 people involved, 900 people on our list. And this forum, you know, we hope that this is going to be, this isn't just like tonight and it's over. This is like a first step towards having a government in West New York that's increasingly open and responsive to the needs of the people who live here. So when we first got together, I mean, we had nothing. And now we have people like Rose Puerto on the zoning board. We have now just 3 years being together, and I'm not saying Concerned Citizens takes the credit for all of this, but we have an elected school board. That's a huge thing in this town. And we have people like Matthew Ching, who's right over here, Joan Palermo, who's right over there, sitting on that board and giving their time and their effort. We really appreciate that. So whatever happens at the zoning board on May 6th and with the election on the 12th, you know, I'd like you to think, if it's possible as I do, where we came from and where we are now. And if we continue to work together and add to our numbers over time, we can change things here where we live and make West New York a better and better place to live. But we really do need every one of you. And we need you to just do a little. A lot of people just doing a little, like an hour a week. Please think about it. And the numbers that we sign up, I'm telling you, seriously, if we had 20 people donating an hour a week, by the end of the summer, our numbers would be closer to 7,500 than 900 in West New York. So I'm going to turn it over to Victoria now, and she's our moderator from the New Jersey League of Women Voters, and I'm going to turn it over to the candidates, and we thank you all for attending, Victoria, the candidates, and all of you.
Hi, is this on? This is on now, yes? Yes. Okay. Hi, good evening. Well, thank you, Joshua. And only my grandmother called me Victoria, but thank you. So, my goodness, and thank you for reaching out to the League of Women Voters. We've been around a really long time, and this gives us the opportunity, as you know, as a nonpartisan organization, to offer opportunities for residents to come out, meet the candidates, hear what they have to say about issues that affect your community, and make an informed decision. You will go to the polls on May 12th, and you will vote for 5 commissioners. I know there's a lot of people running, which is commendable. So you'll vote for 5 people for 4 years. So tonight we have 4 out of the 6 slates, I believe, here tonight. So Mr. Wiley, Mr. Cullen, Mr. DeFino, and Mr. Espinal. So the format tonight, the Concerned Citizens Group developed 10 questions. Some of them are multi-part, and I will read them slowly. Because the candidates have 2 minutes to give you opening remarks, introduce themselves, tell you why they're running, whatever they want, their background. 2 minutes to respond to each of the 10 questions. They have had the questions in advance so that they've had some time to prepare and time themselves for 2 minutes, because we have a timekeeper sitting up front, Bonnie, who will hold up a yellow card when they have 30 seconds left and a red card when they need to stop. So there's a lot to cover. So we're gonna start, we drew cards. So the first person to speak is Mr. Wiley. You have 2 minutes, please.
First of all, I want to thank this. Hey guys, could you hear me back there without this? No, you have to have it, okay. First, I want to say thank you all for coming here today and having an interest in the community. This is very important what's happening here today, as they explained, okay? And I want to thank the New Jersey League of Women Voters for coming today and being a part of this. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about myself. I'm not used to these 2 minutes, so forgive me. But my name is Commissioner Count Wiley. I've been here for the past 4 years here in West New York. A little bit about my background. I actually lived in North Bergen most of my life, right next door, and have been living here for the past 10 years. I am a father in the community. I have a beautiful wife. I have 5 children, all professionals here in the community. My daughters, I have 4 girls and a boy. I have my son, most of all, is attending the school system here in West New York. He's going to be starting kindergarten in September, and he's been actively in pre-K right now. What I also want to talk about is a little bit my background, okay? Went to North Bergen High School. From there, I went to East Stroudsburg University. I graduated there with a bachelor's in political science. Then I went on further to go to Fairleigh Dickinson University for my master's in administration. At the last 9 credits of my classes, I didn't finish because I chose that I wanted a different field, and I went on to become a doctor later on at Bridgeport University Chiropractic College. I don't have a practice in North Bergen for about 12 years. I've been there, and with practice as far as chiropractic, acupuncture, physical therapy, we offer these services also to the community at free. But also, I want to say also that I'm very glad that the community's taken an interest in this, and that there is going to be some change and some competency to these elections that take place. And I want to make sure that continues to happen here in West New York. And this is a great start and a great place to happen. But I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Time perfectly. Mr. DeFino, 2 minutes, please.
My name is Anthony DeFino. I was born here in West New York. Lived here all my life. Will most certainly die here. I tried to get involved in the town about 4 years ago to no avail. This is the best way I think I can contribute my experience and knowledge by being raised in this town by the former mayor who, through his compassion, showed everyone in this town how you should treat people rather than things. I'm more about dealing with human beings and people than things. So I wanted to get involved with my community. I went to grammar school here, I went to high school in St. Peter's Prep. I went to Montclair State University. I didn't graduate, also like Dr. Wiley. I studied political science and math. I worked for the Division of Social Services in the late 90s. I left there after my father and brother's death and pursued real estate management. And I just want to be able to contribute back to the town that gave me the life that I had in the best way possible. This is the way I know how to do it. Thank you.
Mr. Espinal, 2 minutes.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. My name is Juan Espinal. I live at 6201 Boulevard East. Grew up in New York, went to public schools in New York, served in the Army, in the Air Force. From there, I went to work for the Immigration Department as a special agent. I did a lot of undercover work. I went to Connecticut, and finally 24 years, almost 25 in Washington, D.C., and I retired as a lieutenant commander. My experience in the police department and growing up in New York have taught me a lot in terms of juvenile delinquency, education, and basically dealing with people's problems. I think that no other profession in the United States gives you that experience, because every day that you go out to work over 30 years in the police department, what do? You deal with people's problems, and you wear a lot of hats. One day you could be a doctor, assisting a lady give birth. Another day you could be in a shootout. This is the way the police department works. I think that you have a great police department in West New York. I think that we need more police officers walking the beat. I don't see people here walking the beat. I think that we need more police officers in this area due to the fact that there are a lot of crimes that the community don't know about. I think that the community should know what's going on. There was a lady with an attempt rape about a year ago, in Buenos Aires. I see people coming out of the bus coming from New York at 3 o'clock. There's no cops around. I think that we do need more police officers on the beat. I think that we need more programs for the kids, after-school programs, and also in the summer to keep them away from drugs and gangs. I really thank all of you. I think I bring a wealth of experience throughout my 30-plus years career in law enforcement, and they just told me to stop. Thank you.
You're allowed to finish your sentence. Yes, Mr. Cullen, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Patrick Cullen. I've lived in this town mostly since 1969. I'm a product of its schools, number 5 school, Memorial High School, where I ran JV cross country. I was a captain in the drum captain in the band. I later went to the military, have 24 years of service, served in the Army, received the Meritorious Service Medal, served in the National Guard where I actually received that medal. Served at Ground Zero for about 90 days after September 11th attacks. I was a non-commissioned officer in charge of access control. We had 12 access control points around the pile, as we called it. I developed asthma as a result of that. I have a bachelor's degree in history cum laude from NJCU. I have a master's degree from social sciences from Montclair State University. I have 14 years of experience of education, including 6 years as an adjunct college professor at NJCU and 8 years as a homebound instructor. I also have 5 years experience in security. The reason why I'm running is that this town is at a tipping point and a crisis. We are the 3rd most densely populated municipality in the country, sandwiched between the 1st and the 2nd most densely populated municipalities in the country. So, with that said, we have problems that accompany that. Parking, did I say parking? I don't want to forget parking. Huge problem, parking. We also have problems with bus transportation to New York City, especially for the Boulevard East residents. We have a problem with dirty, dimly lit streets, with debris, with snow that's not properly shoveled, especially at the corners. I personally saw a woman fall because of that. We have numerous problems, but the problem started with the man at the top of the ticket, and that's the current mayor. If you're aware, there have been some issues that he had to go to trial with. He was not convicted of that, but if you follow that, then you know the story. He talks about leadership by example. I will lead by example. If I'm elected to the slate, and I will follow and lead, if possible, the other commissioners. We'll work together as a team to do the best for what's right for this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now, the questions. Just so the candidates know, I'm going to mix up the order that you'll speak to each question. The first question, local residents have been and are currently involved in fighting development proposals that they feel are out of character, inappropriate for, and detrimental to their neighborhoods. In many cases, these proposals require variances well outside the bounds of our local zoning ordinances. Question 2. How do you feel about the current pace of development, and where and how would it take place under an administration led by you? Mr. DeFino, would you go first, please? 2 minutes.
Formerly being a resident of 6600 Versailles, I was asked to attend these meetings. I thought with the 6600 project across the street, I thought that it was gonna go nowhere. I figured with my history, I thought they were gonna improve that building. Over time, you realize that from the waterfront to up here, there's been a development craze just with residential property. And the area you put these properties in directly affects the neighborhood. So if the people in that neighborhood show on force that they don't want this there, that should be a criteria just as much as whether they pass the zoning laws properly or not. So how would an administration that I had, or how does these developments affect the area you are, depends more to me on the people of the neighborhood than it does on the specifics of, do you fit the zoning criteria? Because one thing this town doesn't need is more people. because we need to develop this town in more of a commercial nature. If you use the waterfront as an example, you do not see any commercial property down there compared to any other towns like Edgewater. There has to be some kind of balance, okay? When you turn around and don't take in regards to the people of the neighborhood, what's the point of having a zoning board? So depending on the area, and depending on the people of that area's needs or concerns or desires, that's how you should follow through. More so than, do I wanna use this as an excuse to gain tax revenue? Thank you.
Mr. Cullen, 2 minutes, please.
Local residents were, and are currently involved in fighting, I'm reading the question, I'm sorry. West New York ranks third in population density in this country, bordered by Gothenburg first and Union City second. Our state municipal land use law speaks clearly when it says that among other purposes, the purpose of this act is to promote the establishment of appropriate population densities and concentrations that will contribute to the well-being of persons, neighborhoods, communities, and regions, and the preservation of the environment. With a population density that is twice that of New York City, really is, we have reached the carrying capacity to effectively deal with congestion, traffic volume, parking, mass transportation, overcrowded schools, sewerage and water capacities, street cleanliness, and public safety. I am very dissatisfied with the current pace of development. Numerous applications have been approved by rotating administration-appointed zoning and planning boards that have received one or more variances. The most flagrant ones have to do with allowing the developer to build fewer parking spaces than state and local zoning ordinances require. While there are some conscientious, qualified, and independent members currently on the zoning and planning boards, I will ensure that all board members are indeed qualified to serve on the basis of education, experience, and have no conflicts of interest, only the public's interest. The most notorious example of an unworthy development is Le Meridian Boulevard East, a proposed 13-story building across from the Versailles on 66th Street Boulevard East. This project seeks at least 20 or more variances from building setbacks, parking spaces, size of parking spaces, and population densities, to name the most glaring ones. An early application by the same developer, Mr. Capadotli, who was politically connected to the mayor, was initially approved by a 5-2 vote, but was overturned and appealed due to two Roque appointees having conflicts of interest. It has required a neighborhood and local advocacy group then and now to marshal its time and money to fight the good fight against an application that should have never been brought before a zoning board. In addition to securing my presence as either a Class 1 or 3 member of the planning board, I will ensure that both boards are fully served by the best and the brightest. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Listen, I am a very down-to-earth person when it comes down to business. And I will bring the same premise that I had in the police department with meeting with communities every month. First of all, what do they want to build? Where do they want to build it? What are the benefits to the community? I think that all those plans should be brought back to the community first, so the community can have a say whether they want it or not. And I don't think the zoning board should overrule the community. That's number one. Number two, how about tax abatement? What are they looking for? How are they gonna benefit? Who's gonna benefit from that? Walking the streets over here in West New York, I am amazed that I go around and I see a lot of elderlies waiting on a list for 8 and 10 years to get an apartment. I think that's a little ridiculous. Okay, you have a lot of people here that have needs. They don't have enough, or they don't have any sensitivity for the people that have disabilities. You have a lot of buildings that don't even have a ramp for people that have a disability that have to use a wheelchair. There are people that were not able to vote in the last election because they were unable to get into the voting. So my experience working for the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission a year in the enforcement made me very sensitive to discrimination for people against age and the elderly. I think that they have paid their dues. I know people that they have told me already that they give some money underneath the table, and they pay $5,000, $10,000, and they get an apartment. But your mother, your father, your grandfather that been waiting 10 years, and that list is still there. I am a corruption fighter, and you can rest assured that there will be a lot of people locked up under my administration. That I can tell you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Wiley, 2 minutes,
Yes,
please.
I love your energy, guys. You guys have the energy and the passion that I look for. First of all, we're talking about development, though. The reality is here. The community has different needs. I am a commissioner in the community for the past 4 years. I live, I eat, and I breathe West New York, period. That's what I think about 7 days a week. I'm out in the street 7 days a week serving you as the public. As far as development, remember something. This is something that there's only 3 or 4 builders in town. It's been very corrupt here, what's been going on, or you want to call it incompetence, maybe is the other word. Throughout the whole community, there's only been certain builders here that have been making an impact in the community building here. And we have one of them, you know, is Capodaglia, your arch enemy across the street. Many of you have. I know many of you in the room, that is your main concern right now, is what's happening across the street. As your mayor, in the future, I will make sure that this will be not something easy to attain for them. They will have to come in front of the commissioners in order to get some things approved, as far as where they're gonna dispense of garbage and other parts of the project. So I'm not gonna make this easy for them in any way, because they did inconvenience you, each and every one of you, for the past 2 to 3 years. And I remember all the meetings you have been to, and the hours that we spent sitting in those zoning and variance boards, and endless, and it felt like nobody was listening to you. And the truth is, there are people listening. Now, you do have a commissioner that has been listening for the 4 years, and has been active and fighting against this guy, okay? And was actually threatened to be sued by this particular individual. So I'm not afraid to stand up to anything or anybody that's gonna disrupt the quality of life in this community. And remember something, this administration right now revised the master plan in West New York. You see, this is something that you don't hear about every day. It's that they projected it, there was 4 separate meetings in town, but that was funny, because I didn't even hear about these meetings as a commissioner. So that each one of you was supposed to go and give your comment to what you felt the needs were in the community. But this master plan changes a lot of things. Changes Boulevard East, changes the quality of the projects that will be able to go up on Kennedy Boulevard and inside other parts of the town. So I'm gonna let you know that's something that I do wanna put a hold on and have revisited again for an interest of the community. Okay, but thank you.
The next topic is open government. Local residents have expressed dissatisfaction with an administration they feel has shut them out in a wide range of ways. From a lack of access to seats on boards, to an inability to interact easily, quickly and efficiently with the officials they elect to represent them. We've had numerous complaints that calls to our mayor's office go unanswered, that there is no email access listed on the West New York website for contact and interaction with our elected representatives. Questions? Where do you stand on open government, and what steps do you propose to take in your administration to make our government truly a government both for and of the people, and the members of your administration as accessible as possible to the people of West New York? Second, would you support the establishment of an independent panel to first screen candidates and then make recommendations of qualified individuals to serve on town boards? Mr. Espinal, would you go first for 2 minutes?
Okay, working on open government. Coming from Washington, D.C., you get to see other politics, and you get to gain a lot of experience. Open government means that you have access to City Hall 24/7. This is a very small area. This is about 55,000 people, where I was lieutenant commander, was 110,000 people. So I think that you should have somebody 24/7 in town hall that will answer the phone for you. I think that you should have access in case of an emergency to call the police or anything, and we should have enough police officers. We don't have enough police officers in West New York right now. We should have at least 130 active. We probably have under 100 that are active right now. Okay, with open government, you also have to look at the budget that you have, how many employees do you have, how much money are they making? I have a copy on the Oprah of all the employees of the town. You have people there that do not command that salary. Some secretary is making $85,000 a year. Some other person who's a supervisor of the daycare center, $185,000 a year. That's why we don't have enough money, and we have $11 million debt on the budget. I think that with open government, everybody should have access, and you should have a backup plan to make sure that everybody gets taken care of with good customer service. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Wiley, please, 2 minutes.
Open government is a big question. We've been fighting about that for the past 4 years. If you've been to any meetings in West New York, you see that there was things that were put on the agenda that I didn't know about till the day before the meeting as a commissioner. Okay, right now we do have an administration that is not quality. They're incompetent. They're hiding things here in West New York. They're corrupt. There's been bribes in West New York. One of Roque's best friends was bribing a fire official. Okay, and now he's making a plea deal in West New York. And there's many more of those individuals in West New York right now. I want you to know that. As far as open government, that is without a doubt. That has been my whole thing about what I've been about as a commissioner. Not hiding anything. When the questions came to me, I wasn't afraid to go to a press conference. I wouldn't have my campaign manager talk for me, or my spokesman. At that time, I didn't even have one, okay? So there's never been nothing to hide in this administration as far as my department or any department I've ever ran. There's been many things I've exploited, many things that I've opened up that have been hidden. You know, you as taxpayers here, you pay for the businesses of West New York, 500 businesses. You're paying for the garbage removal 3 days a week, okay? These are things that the community doesn't even know about. But these are the things I've been here to change from day one. I brought that to Roque, explaining I could save $1 million a year, but it went ignored. But as far as the access to government for our people, the people who I will put on zoning board and variance and et cetera will always be from the entire community. There will not be political cronies that are sitting in those boards right now, as we speak. There was 2 appointments, for example, Joshua Breakstone, for years has been asking, put me on a board. Please, I want to be on one of the variance and zoning boards. Nobody goes to many meetings as this gentleman has in the past number of years here in West New York, especially for that project across Boulevard East. And what did they give him? They gave him the rent control board. Then I yell and scream that day because it's unfair, it's not proper, and you're not representing the entire community of West New York. And that is not an open government by doing that. And that's what I want to make sure that we receive here. And then remember something, you have a mayor who's here 2 hours a week, guys. Every Friday he comes twice a week. Remember, I will give you my full time. I've spent 40 hours a week here now, and I will continue to be a full-time mayor in West New York without the pay. Thank you.
Cullen, 2 minutes, please.
One reason that numerous calls to a mayor have gone unanswered is that this mayor has demonstrated he has neither the time nor inclination to make time for his full-time job to adequately avail himself to the needs of his constituents. If elected mayor by my fellow commissioners, I will serve West New York full-time. Or as commissioner, I will also serve West New York full-time. Commissioner candidates should not run for this office if they are not prepared to serve full-time, as we have many issues that now need attention. For starters, I will never cancel a monthly Board of Commissioners meeting, which is mandatory for political reasons that the mayor used to so cancel required meetings on the 15th to 22nd of this month. While there are email capabilities on our town website, actually, I will ensure that unlike the non-response I received from a recent email I sent to members of our governing body, the mayor and commissioners will make time to respond to their constituents' written communications. Furthermore, all governing board members in my administration will avail themselves at staggered times to meet with constituents in their offices, and it will be considerably more hours than the mayor has made himself available. I have been told by a current commissioner candidate that a former mayor actually inserted a sheet of paper with instructions to all planning board members on how to vote on meeting agenda items. Of the 9-member planning board, the mayor's administration is legally granted 3 seats, classes 1 through 3. The 6 members of class 4 must legally also be qualified and independent. All members of the zoning board must be independent. Among other duties, an elected position of public advocate could be responsible for making board appointees. Board appointees could also be elected positions. Only the best and brightest board members will be selected in a fair process, if not elected in my administration.
DeFino, 2 minutes.
24 years, I watched my father have the door in the house open, literally, till any time. I wouldn't know how to do it any differently than him, and then feel like it was right. Your representatives and the boards that they choose, if they're appointed, directly reflect their character. Okay? So if you have a board that does what you don't want them to do, that's what your administration is doing, whether you know it or not. Like Mr. Cullen mentioned with the little note slipping. I was taught as a young man to an adult, which, by the way, everybody in my family is a civil servant. None of us were elite, had appointed jobs. I never even worked in West New York, by the way. I've never had a job in this town. My brother was a police officer. My sister works for the rec. Obviously, my father was the mayor. My Aunt Rose was a teacher, became superintendent. We are normal people, just like the people I'm running with. You will see them in the street every day. They reflect the character that is what this town deserves. Honesty, openness, but if you keep picking the same old, and you believe these lies over and over again, you're gonna get exactly what you have now. Which is, yes, we're going to do this. Every meeting I've made, that I've attended rather, I see the mayor tell people, yes, I'll talk to you, Mr. Breakstone. Nothing happens. You keep believing that, you're gonna get the same thing over and over again. The name DeFino is synonymous with incorruptibility. I have seen people who run for office before who will tell you exactly what you want to hear. Not that you believe it, but you don't have another option. You have another option now. Thank you.
Next, question. Form of government in West New York. Local residents worry that the current form of government in West New York, which concentrates power in the hands of the mayor, can lead to abuse, corruption, and lack of accountability. Do you agree? Would you support a change to the mayor-council form of government from the present mayor-commissioner form? If not, why not? Mr. Cullen, would you start, please? 2 minutes.
If not, why not? Robert F. Kennedy paraphrased George Bernard Shaw by saying, "There are those that look at things the way they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not." The current form of government does indeed concentrate power in the hands of the mayor. Ironically, were it not for Assemblywoman Angelica Jimenez and her Chief of Staff Cosmo Cirillo standing up to his controversial and flawed sign ordinance, it might have come law. How times have changed. When the mayor told a resident when asked in a town hall meeting if he supported having an elected school board, whatever the people want, then he campaigned against an elected school board. He then abused his authority when the April 2014 school board election was moved by the Board of Commissioners to November 2014 by packaging the motion as a consent agenda item and not allowing Commissioner Wiley to remove said item from consent agenda to be discussed. Had it been presented as an ordinance, the overwhelming majority of the packed chambers of concerned residents would have denounced it. While it is fortunate that Mayor Roque was unsuccessful in hiring the law firms who defended he and his son in the computer hacking trial that his son was indeed convicted, to various town council positions, he did abuse or at least created a cloud of questions when the West New York Parking Authority Board, whom he appointed, hired the law firm that defended his son. He absolutely abused his authority by appointing that same son to the planning board and assistant to the planning board and the West New York Housing Authority. We do need to transition to a mayor-council because the current commission form gives each commissioner executive and legislative authority, whereas the mayor-council gives the executive power to mayor and legislative power where it belongs, in the council. New Jersey statutes on mayor-council allow two basic types of councils for our population size: all at large or at large and ward hybrid. The fact that a ward-only council is not allowed by law speaks volumes. If we had a 5-member council with 3 ward and 2 at-large members, every voter would not be permitted to vote for the other 2 wards. They would only vote for 60% of the council. As this is unfair, I support a 5-member at-large council. This in spite of the fact that I won my Ward 3 by a large margin in November's Board of Education election. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I do support a type of council. You have 3 wards in West New York. I think that each ward should elect the representative. And I think that would be the easiest way to get things done, because each of them will represent their area and their interests. I think that if they come across to to the mayor, everybody will have a say of what they want and what they do not want in their ward. So I do support the council of government with no hesitation. I think that we have candidates here, the ones that are here, I think that they are very qualified to run the city, and hopefully with your help and your vote, we'll be able to deliver on any promises that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeFino, 2 minutes, please.
This is a question I would like to pass on, but I won't. Do we need a new form of government, or do we need a new form of governance? Do we need new representatives? I'm old-fashioned. I believe we didn't need an elected board. We needed someone to remove the mayor and his corrupt patronage and control over the board. Okay? The elected board has not solved our problem. So I don't want to go into whether I would support one or the other, because it's up to the will of the people. However, you do not change the car when you have a drunk driver crash it. You change the driver. Okay? That's all I'll say on that.
Thank you, Mr. Wiley, 2 minutes.
Okay. When I think of form of open government, okay, I've been asked this question, it was something that I did delicately, I wanted to answer the right way. I'm too much of a pleaser sometimes, and I always want to make everybody happy. But the reality is I'm not going to make everybody happy. And as far as an open government, I agree with Anthony. Number one, it is always in the leadership. Doesn't matter whether it's in commission form or mayor council. The difference between the two, how I see it, when you have a 5-form commissioner, they're responsible for a certain part of the department. They're given a certain amount of power. In a mayor council, you give the mayor all the power to run the town as far as what's hired, who's fired, what project can it go. But legislatively, on both ends, we all make the decisions. Okay, and I try to pick 5 commissioners that are representing the entire community. And I did look for somebody on Boulevard East. And I have been in the waterfront, 2 candidates came forward to me. But when they get into the game and they find out what they're involved in, they run the other way. So it takes a certain individual. You can come up here and talk, but another story is doing the action and making it get done. Okay? And the reality is how I feel. I've been here 4 years. I've seen what's been going on. I see the puppets that are constantly elected next to the mayor. That this is what happens in the past 3 years, the past 3 administrations, I'm going to say. And there's always a negative in there. Guys, there's pros and cons in everything. But as I feel, it's in your mayor, it's the leader of the community. If it starts from the top and it comes down, that's the way it'll end at the end with the workers. The way the, how do I always say, I always like to bring back the strength in the community, the workers, the compassion to want to service you as the community. One of my best comments by one of my commissioners when she said in one of our fundraisers, you're going to leave with hope when you walk out of the town hall. You're going to know that you've been helped. Someone has served you and not left you and just forget about you. And if you call my 2 departments, my people follow up, we complete the task, and we get the job done. Any complaint that comes through my door at my town hall is taken care of immediately. If it goes to another department, I can't promise you that it will. But remember, I'm always here to serve you to the end, and I'll serve with all my heart and my desire and my passion. Thank you.
The next topic is tax abatements. We were more than a little surprised that more questions were submitted with regard to tax abatements than about any other single issue. Numerous residents have expressed the view that since payment in lieu of taxes, also called pilot payments, that West New York receives from developers don't contribute to education costs, county taxes, or other municipal expenses. Tax abatements actually result in real terms to increase tax burdens for local residents. Candidates, please explain your position on the granting of tax abatements and how your position contrasts with current and past administrative practice. Are tax abatements justified, and if so, in what cases? And are they justified in any one part of town as opposed to another? Mr. DeFino, would you start, please? 2 minutes.
This is my favorite question. Let's see how many people I can confuse who have degrees. Why bother? We have enough residential property in this town, since I only have 2 minutes with this question, this could be 2 hours, okay? and nobody's gonna be satisfied when we leave. Shouldn't give a tax abatement to any more property in this town, especially the waterfront, okay? You don't need residential development anymore in this town. We need to give tax abatements to commercial property. That's the original reason that this was birthed from someone's mind, to bring reasonable resources to your town that bring sustainable employment without putting pressure on your infrastructure. Anybody sleeping yet? Okay, you don't want the building that has 200 units in it. You have 200 toilets, 200 tubs, 200 sinks, 200 washing machines. It's not gonna put a stress on the water pipe that just broke on 60th Street? Okay, you put a building like Kmart up, they don't need 100 toilets, but they'll have 100 jobs. And you don't need police, you don't need garbage pickup, you don't need to do anything that puts stress on the infrastructure. Why hasn't the last 3 administrations gone towards the commercial tax abatements, which the first place I've ever seen it was when I was 12 years old in the Panasonic in Harmon Cove. And that's how it was explained to me by the Sea Caucus mayor and my father. This is to bring jobs to the town, keep the taxes low, and we already are overpopulated and overpolluted. So you don't need more electricity, which doesn't bring money to the town. More water doesn't bring money to the town. The money you receive from these tax revenues, you're gonna have to pay more police, more teachers. It doesn't make sense. There's more bang for the buck with commercial tax abatements, if you're gonna do it at all. In that nature, you do need it. Thank you.
Mr. Wiley, 2 minutes, please.
I believe the community really got to know tax abatements was because I was the first one to actually bring this out and make a serious issue about it. I mean, this is one of the things that just fell on my lap. When I first got into the administration, I would say I was a little green, okay? Because we came out from an administration that had 52% tax raise over 4 years, okay? And what was going on was I realized that we were in serious trouble, and I understand that there might have been a reason that this tax abatement was being done. The town is in serious disarray, $47 million in debt, $11 million added in the past 4 years from just this present mayor here in town. Tax abatements, number one, can be abused. They can be given to certain builders, certain friends, and it's happened. There's been 8 total tax abatements in this one administration. Uncalled for, I voted no on every one of them except the first one. What happened was, again, this is a way that locators used tax abatements to balance the budget. Remember something, it's an incentive to the builder. So sometimes at the town, what they can allow is to take a loan from the builder, which he did with the 20-year tax abatement on the waterfront, $2.5 million. And what did he do with the money? He balanced the budget. And he runs around in a big hooray, sending literature to you how balancing the budget he is, 0% tax raise, when originally it was at 1.5% in 1 year. But the reality is he's not financially attaining with the responsibility the town needs. We are not financially sound here in West New York. I'm gonna tell you that firsthand. There's been many situations and things they can't explain to me in the budget and where the money is for bonding, which is particularly straight up on a piece of paper, $200,000 for a piece of equipment. That's what we're supposed to use it for. You have no idea the disarray that this town is in financially. We need a serious CFO, and what I'm going to do in the first year is gonna be having a meeting in the middle school and exposing and giving you everything after a year that we tear the books apart and open up this town. And I'm gonna exploit it to you and show you what it is that I am dealing with, and I will give you the plan for not only the next 4 years, but I would say, I like to say next 7 years for the town of West New York. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Espinal, 2 minutes, please.
Sure, thank you. In reference to the tax abatement, I think that no more than 5% should be given tax abatement, 5 years, not 10 years, 15, 20, or 30 years, like they have done in the past. And I agree with Mr. DeFino that we should go with the people that are bringing the jobs into West New York, not the residents. The people that are building this huge 10-story buildings with no parking and nothing to show for the residents. With tax abatement, I know that on the Vega, Mr. Wiley just said that it was like 40 to 50% increase. I think that to make up for that, giving people, the homeowners, 6 months to do whatever repairs they need to do at no charge. Just, to make up, because, taxes usually are 2 to 2.5% for the people that, and I think that when you were paying $3,000 in taxes, and all of a sudden, you see yourself paying $9,000, I think it's a little hard. I think that, under my administration, I will look into giving the homeowners a break, and especially the elderly also, because you have a lot of retirees here that are living on Social Security. Social Security is not enough. Sometimes you hardly make it. So that's my position on tax abatement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen, 2 minutes.
Thank you. The original purpose of New Jersey tax abatement laws, which date back to the 1970s, was to enable municipalities with blighted or distressed areas to offer incentives to developers to build industrial facilities, thank you, Mr. DeFino and Mr. Espinal, that would have the effect of creating permanent jobs. The law allows for the non-payment of local school taxes as an incentive for a manufacturing company to relocate to New Jersey. This would give the distressed areas much-needed jobs, and the affected municipality would get revenue from the pilots, and the newly hired permanent workers would put back much of their salaries into the local economy. A win-win. Somewhere along the way, developers got greedy, began to donate to politicians, as Dr. Wiley said, who watered down the protections in these laws, allowing abatements for residential developments which create very few permanent jobs. As the law stands now, the 5-year abatements do pay school and county taxes, albeit at a reduced rate. I encourage all gathered, including my fellow commissioner candidates, to read the then New Jersey Comptroller Matthew Boxer's August 2010 27-page seminal report, a programmatic examination of municipal tax abatements. His most salient points: there is a lack of state oversight and tax abatement process, which can lead to cronyism between the developer and municipal officials. The county, which receives only a small portion of what it would normally receive, and the local school board of education, which receives nothing from the long-term tax abatements, should be involved in the decision-making process that grants them, but they are not. As a result of the tax abatement, non-abated property owners, and indirectly those that rent from them, are forced to absorb the cost of having to pay higher taxes. The perfect storm example of this is the massive 2009 net 27% property tax increase borne entirely on the shoulders of non-tax abated property owners. Mayor Roque has continued ramming through destructive long-term tax abatements that his supporter Albio Series began and Sal Vega continued. I will only allow industrial abatements that provide significant permanent jobs for West New Yorkers and only in areas that are zoned for industrial. Thank you.
Thank you. The next topic is municipal debt. Municipal debt has gone up $11 million in the past 3 years. What is your opinion of the current level of municipal debt? Do you feel it's high, low, manageable, untenable? Can the level of West New York's municipal debt be reduced, and if so, how would you do it? Are there areas in need of increased spending? Are there areas where inefficiencies can be made, thus allowing for augmentation of funding to other currently underfunded services? Mr. Espinal, would you please start?
In reference to the debt, I think it's manageable, the $11 million. I think that you also have to look at how big or how small of government do you really need? Because I know you have a lot of positions that are in excess in town hall right now, and basically redundant. We have a lot of part-timers working for DPW. That's why you have a lot of problems with the garbage. I know that we need more equipment for DPW. I know that we need more police officers, and also the emergency medical services. I know in some cases that you have a couple of people that recently were hired that don't speak English. Do you want one of those people to come and take care of you when you have a heart attack? Something to look at, okay? So basically, I think it's manageable. I think that with the debt, we should keep on pace our spending, and I think that giving the people of West New York, the voters and the residents, a monthly report to put it on the website, I think it will be good to let you know where every penny is and is being spent every month. Thank you very much.
Cullen, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you. Our great Mayor DeFino was not perfect, as neither are any of us sitting here. But he had something that is lacking of his three successors: acknowledgement of his shortcomings. He acknowledged that the West New York MUA, which was responsible for the operation of our sewage treatment before it merged with the NHSA, was not managed well. His successor, Mayor Series, was not a good steward of that debt. According to the West New York Reporter, this debt was mostly sold to third-party lien holders, which is a clever way of stating that it was bonded. To put it in other words, new debt was incurred to pay for that debt. Furthermore, given Mayor Series' eventual rise as Speaker of the Assembly and Congressman, he did not want to lose any votes by raising taxes to help reduce this substantial debt. He unconscionably lowered taxes for homeowners who live in town, fiddling to the drum beat of his own ambitions while our debt load was secretly burning. That fireball of debt structure engineered by Series and his administrator, Weehawken Mayor Richard Turner, actually burst an $8 million hole in the 2008 budget, which Mayor Vega got a one-year reprieve by creating creative financing with the HCIA, using our DPW building as collateral. We all know what happened in 2009. Both Mayors Vega and Roque know the damage Mayor Series inflicted on our town. It's no accident that Mayor Vega and Mayor Series are not on speaking terms. Sadly, while privately acknowledging to me that Mayor Vega was dealt a hot handle, Mayor Roque continues to treat Mayor Series like royalty. Our debt is way too high and untenable. Our debt must be reduced. Part of our debt includes about $8 million as co-signer for financing for the 62nd Street parking garage near Burger King. I will merge the parking authority with the Department of Public Safety, as has been successfully done in Jersey City. No one will lose their jobs except through attrition. Efficiencies will be achieved and redundancies eliminated, thus saving taxpayer dollars. The town is also on the hook for $3.3 million in schools debt. As long-term abatements pay no school taxes, there will be an indefinite moratorium on all future long-term residential abatements until our debt load has been eliminated. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wiley, 2 minutes, please.
Okay, municipal debt. Just so you know, I've been very involved as far as with the CFO, as far as a lot of questions I have to ask. I remember her bringing up something to me, which was that the state only allows you to be in no more than $32 million in debt. And now we're $47 million. So what's going to probably most likely happen if this continues to worsen as the debt increases every day here in West New York, the state might come in and take over control of the township. This is a very serious matter. It might happen, okay? And that's when everything gets locked down. There is no feelings, there is nothing for recreation or any other money. They don't want to know anything. If it isn't there, you don't have it to spend, it doesn't happen. I mean, that's the last thing I want to see happen here in West New York, because we have a lot of needs here, there's a lot of projects, a lot of repairs, and other things that need to be done. And as far as how I feel it's too high, of course it's too high. As far as the municipal debt being reduced, remember something. This is I understand this is the public sector, but when I run the town, I run it like my own, as it's a private sector, as I run my business. And I've been very successful with that. Didn't have to fire anybody in the past 4 years, nor did I ever fire anybody in my practice. It was all about the leadership, the role I took, and then making them understand about the passion and the visions that I have here in West New York, that it has to be, you have to follow me. If it doesn't, it isn't going to work. You can't have half the workers going away and one's going the other. Where do I see more spending need to be spent? I'm going to tell you right now, I know I have children, but not for nothing, the biggest part of the enjoyment of the community is our children. Whether it's the baseball games, the soccer, the basketball, whatever it might be. That's the most important thing for me as far as our children, to make sure that our next generation will continue to strengthen West New York, especially as far as like littering, for example, people throwing garbage in the street and letting their dogs poop on the sidewalk. You know, if the children see that, and the parents don't take anything or any movement to make that change, or show that they to clean the neighborhood, it's gonna continue to happen year after year, okay? And it'll happen in the next generation and the next generation. But one of my goals, and you know I work hard, and you know you see me in the street, we will make sure that this attitude does change here in West New York, that the people do respect their community, and they will have everything they want for the future here.
I'd like to apologize to Pat for interrupting you. I was always impressed, absolutely impressed with his knowledge of the pilot program and tax abatements. Tax debt. Raise your taxes. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody's gonna promise that they won't do it. Not a knowledgeable, experienced politician will never tell you he's gonna raise taxes, but he should never tell you he's gonna lower them. The taxes on your residents right now are ridiculous. I own property in North Bergen, it's 40% less than it is in West New York. The property value is 40% less also, so I'm not balanced out there. The taxes that need to go up here are through a revitalization of Bergen Line Avenue. You bring in new business to this town, you bring increased revenue to the town, somehow or another you be able to bring new taxes, but not on the backs of the residents. These tax abatements and programs, they don't work because your taxes haven't gone down and they're deferred. Where do you need more spending? Like Commissioner Wiley said, number one to me is the recreation. The real development of this town is not property, it's not things, it's people, okay? We haven't had a new recreation center since it was torn down by the successor to my father. We haven't had a new pool built to this town since my father's era. The town pool was built by my father through a program where it allows every public person to come in, not just members. That's how you get it paid for by someone else. The town doesn't have to pay for it. We need to go back to these theories where we don't need to be exclusionary. We need to include everybody because it's public. But we've just went in this town to mine. Residential, this property, where's my, people have parking spots in buildings. What about the people in the street who live here for 40 years who've made this town through their taxes? They don't get an abatement.
Next topic is city parks, fostering a safe, healthy environment for kids and families. Many local residents with small children who frequent parks have contacted us to say that the parks are in disrepair and dirty. The ground can be seen covered with broken glass, bottles, cans, and dog waste. Dogs are not allowed in city parks, and yet this restriction does not seem to be policed or enforced. Additionally, they propose that local parks be gated for the protection of our kids. It seems to us that making West New York a safe place for our kids, a great place to raise a family, and a great place to grow up would be an enormous boost to our town. Do you agree, and what steps would you take in your administration to turn around the current situation and make it so? What will you do to make West New York greener, less concrete, more grass, space, light, air, quiet, as opposed to the current practice of cutting trees down and pouring concrete, as has been the case of what several residents have referred to as the concrete citadel, the improvements taking place at Veterans Park, located on the east side of Boulevard East, just a few blocks south of 60th Street. Mr. Wiley. 2 minutes, please.
Number one, I am the commissioner of the parks and public property. I'm not for nothing. I know there's residents that will complain regardless what you do, no matter how hard you work, okay? Any of these complaints as far as broken glass, beer bottles, etc., sometimes these things are a little uncontrollable. They happen in the evening, by the morning. The best what I've done, especially over here on Boulevard East, I've actually sent the men first thing in the mornings to take care of that park first. I have a certain amount of individuals that keep drinking there and partying there at the same hours of the evening. I've asked many times, remember, I don't run the police department right now. I don't have control of that. I've sent emails continuously telling them to please patrol the parks. Over the last year, just in the last summer, I must have busted over 35, 40 people smoking marijuana and other types of drugs down in the water park, what is it called, Washington? No, not Washington, right here on 60th Street, Veteran Park there. That's a big hideout there for these people, breaking lights, ripping out electrical work. You have no idea the amount of graffiti that takes place between the gangs and the labeling. It's an ending, never-ending thing, okay? But if I don't increase the patrol in these parks and the community, which we used to have park security, but my goal is to go through, especially with the police department, and I'm fixed on this, and I know they're gonna fight me, but the reality is the money isn't here in the budget to hire new police officers. And the reality is we need more police officers in West New York. You can give me just 10 officers, I can make the big difference here. Having patrol on top of Boulevard East like it used to be. I want to bring back the police department when they were on the bikes, the bike patrol. That's big because they don't hear you coming, they don't see you. Another one is the waterfront. They must have took my recommendation, I guess, from this election, and they started having now patrol, a bike go down and patrol on top of the boardwalk. Remember something, your interest is my priority. whether it's the parks, the greens, I work relentlessly. I had $83,000 to spend last year in the budget on the parks, and I did that over a total of 8 to 10 parks. And we got as much done as we could possibly with that money. But again, this is this year, and we have a new plan for this year also. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. DeFino, 2 minutes, please.
I think the form of government should restructure the department back to Parks and Recreation, because it's one and the same about the children and the quality of life for the people in the town. I don't think there should be any gates on the parks. They should be open to the public at all times. They should be made to feel safe enough that they can go there anytime they want, from a child to an adult. People have all different types of working hours. I believe one of the biggest problems we have now is from 1997, the mayor at that time started this, just getting rid of basketball courts and changing the park structure to the point where these kids, these adolescents have nowhere to go. So you don't even know where they are, which is where the police used to know. At least you know these kids in the basketball court no matter what they're doing. Now they're hiding where you don't know where they're at. The dog park situation. There should be a rule that these dog parks are a certain distance away from the regular parks so they don't interfere with the children for safety and cleanliness. There should be some kind of enforcement through either the park or the Department of Public Works that goes after people for not cleaning their dogs. We put enough bags out there. We don't want children who are playing in parks to be involved with any type of problem with an animal, okay? We need more park maintenance, but through the point of people wanting to go there. Who wants to go to a gated park? It looks like a jail. Miller Stadium is gated at night, it looks locked, closed up like a jail. Yet Donnelly Park doesn't have a gate. You can't have one and the other's different. It doesn't work like that. They should all be open to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you. Part of the problem in our parks is directly due to the department shuffling that Mayor Roque needlessly did 3 years ago. To cover his real intentions of not wanting then Commissioner Carigian Rodriguez as Commissioner of Revenue and Finance to succeed him, as mandated by law, should he have to resign in connection with his trial, he shuffled all departments to cover his real intentions. Commissioner Wiley saw through this and rightly stood up to it. Unfortunately, Mayor Roque retaliated against Commissioner Wiley, who was unjustifiably transferred from the DPW to Parks by cutting funding and human resources to his new department. His workforce and funding was only restored about a year ago. Moving forward, as there is a causal link between our untenable debt levels, which are exacerbated by unnecessary residential tax abatements, all such abatements will stop. Dogs will be excluded from fenced-in parks and limited to street curbs and unfenced parks. Dog parks will be improved and expanded when and where possible so that our furry friends will have access to adequate recreation and exercise. Much of the increase in dog waste, broken glass, graffiti, and drug use in our parks is directly linked to Mayor Siri's elimination of the park police, the elimination of special and auxiliary police, and Mayor Roque's elimination of park security. Commissioner candidate Betancourt has direct knowledge and experience with these programs in West New York, and candidate Juan Espinal is also a retired police officer. Both would do well. I will bring back one or more of these programs to combat the lack of security in our parks today. I will incorporate the successful West New York Junior Police Academy as a fertile, nurturing facilitator of our dedicated and qualified youth to train to lead by example as our new park security. By applying the lessons learned from the analogous neighborhood broken window syndrome to the parks, our parks maintenance staff will then have more manageable job to do. We have an excellent noise ordinance, by the way. It will be enforced. This will generate a lot of needed revenue as well. I will have to look into the matter of Veterans Park. Until then, I defer to Commissioner Wiley's knowledge about that subject. Thank you.
Espinal, 2 minutes.
Yes, dealing with the parks, I do agree with, with Mr. Cullen. I think that we should have additional lighting in the parks, cameras, and I am a big proponent of renewable energy, solar energy. It will save the town a lot of money, maybe about 60% of what they are spending in energy right now. Until that is done, I think that I will go with a 10 o'clock curfew, especially in the summer, if you do have that business. Again, talking about hiring additional police officers. Maybe it is a little expensive, at this time because of the budget, but you have a special police and you have auxiliary police, that these are regular citizens that live in the neighborhood that can provide volunteer work to provide additional security for the parents and the kids. I think that if they see cameras, they will be a little hesitant to be doing what they're doing. In terms of the people that do not clean up after their dogs on the street, I think $100 fine would do just fine. And with the cameras, there will be no doubt that that was not you and that was not your dog. Okay, thank you very much.
The next topic is cleanliness of streets. What would you do as mayor to make sure the streets are kept clean? And what is it that you can point to in your own background that demonstrates your ability to tackle and accomplish this task, which is of utmost importance to our residents, but somehow has seemed impossible to manage to date? Mr. Cullen, would you start, please? 2 minutes.
West New York once had a street cleaning operation to include debris, dirt, and snow removal second to none in the county. I will restore it. With 24 years of military service, as both a junior enlisted soldier and a senior non-commissioned officer, I have the qualifications of leadership sufficient to get the job done. I will start by firing the unqualified, uncertified DPW director who reportedly received an FBI target letter and appears to be more dedicated to his political job as Mayor Roque's campaign treasurer. Mechanical sweepers that need repair will be. Efforts to enforce the mandatory dog waste pickup by dog owners will be redoubled, if needed, after I ensure that dog waste bag stations are always stocked. I have personally witnessed too many falls on snow and ice covered sidewalks. Street corners will be shoveled by town employees. Strict adherence to residential and business snow removal timelines will be observed. Thank you.
Mr. Espinal, 2 minutes, please.
Clean streets. Let's start with this building right here, 6040. Talking to a lot of residents on the street, I know that there is a path that goes down to the store, right? That is never cleaned during the winter.
What store?
Uh-huh.
What store? I'm sorry, what store?
I mean,
The
stairs.
That's what I'm wondering what he's talking
Some
about.
stairs that you have. Okay, the Starbucks.
Oh, those, oh.
Sure.
No conversation, please, go ahead.
Okay. There's a lot of ice in the winter that is not taken care of. I think that if you do a call-up list during the summer of people that will volunteer or will come and get $10 an hour to clean the snow, I think they have a good call-up list that you can call people to clean the streets. The other thing is, I don't see garbage cans in West New York. What's up with that? I think Mr. Wiley should be able to address that later on. But we should have garbage can on every corner.
There used to be.
They used to be, but we can put it back, okay? With the clean streets, with the cameras, I think over here in Boulevard East, people will be a little more reluctant to throw garbage and not to clean up the dog waste. Okay, so I think that it's durable to have clean streets in West New York. Thank you very much.
I thought he meant that.
I believe that in this town, what we need is for the people themselves to have some kind of incentive that they don't want to do that. Cleanliness begets cleanliness. Myself, I'll admit that I'm guilty. If I'm driving around and I see a street that's dirty, I wouldn't hesitate to chew on a piece of gum and throw the wrapper out the street, but you wouldn't do that in Disney World because it looks incredibly immaculate. We need people to get fines. If I got pulled over and I got a ticket, I'd never do that again. Back in the day when people used to litter on the street, used to get caught, you get a ticket. Okay, we need garbage, like Mr. Espinal said, Mr. Cullen said. I don't want to repeat their points. I don't see garbage cans in every corner. I'd stop my car every 15 minutes and empty my front floor out. Okay, we need garbage cans. Other than that, the people who work in this town, not just the DPW, but specifically, most of them could qualify for food stamps. So what kind of incentive does a guy have with a broom to walk around when he's getting $300 a week, and he sees his manager, his director, making 6 figures doing nothing? This needs to be changed. You can't qualify for food stamps or welfare and work for a town and expect these people to break their backs to keep it clean. Should they? Of course they should, but not when other people are getting $50,000 raises and your directors on the Board of Ed doesn't have higher than 8th grade education, makes 6 figures because he has a criminal history. He was won a wire before, so his whole position is to just make money, do whatever he wants. Your workers are gonna look at that and say, why shouldn't I do that? That's despicable.
Dr. Wiley, 2 minutes, please.
Well, I know in many of these counties, obviously they're not commissioners yet, but, I will talk about what I have done, okay? When I ran the DPW the first year, I committed 40 hours a week to that every week. I was there every day in the garage. There was men sitting there doing over like 1,400 hours in overtime every 2 weeks, sitting around the garage for the last 2 hours of the day. As far as what I did do in the first year I was here, I used to have 4 inspectors. As far as any complaints, garbage, recycling, we were trying to go green. We were pushing that amongst the town. What I would have is 4 inspectors. We actually have what's called a doggy hotline. So when something would happen, or you'd find someone not cleaning up after the dog, and you see them go into a particular house, we would give them a warning. You know, one thing I don't believe in, guys, though, is beating up the residents of West New York, okay? My idea is not to beat you up to make you do something, but to show you by example, to conform, to get us to do what you need to do to be an honest member in society. And how I see it, what I did was I gave over a total of 1,200 warnings in that first year, okay? And there was only 4 tickets given, all right? Because that was for people who just didn't want to comply and were ignorant about it, okay? Also, the garbage can issue, you're right. When this deputy mayor took over the position that I had there running the DPW, he had removed all the garbage cans, especially from heavily populated places like Hudson Avenue, Broadway, Park Avenue. I'm surprised he didn't pull them out of Bergen Line the way he was going. And after, I can't even find out where those garbage cans are anymore. But this is something, we do get a recycling grant every year of about $60,000 to $65,000, and I will be using this grant money for the particular purpose it's meant for, not to be put back into the budget to balance it, okay? And that's what's been happening for the past 4 years. The other thing I wanted to say to you guys was also the trees going green, okay? In the streets themselves, we have a lot of issues as far as where the tree is, but there's too much dirt taken out of the hole where it is. People breaking an ankle, folding it over the curb or whatever it may be. There's a lot of other issues in the street as far as safety that need to be attained too. But that will be taken care of by my administration. Thank you.
The next topic is quality of the schools, Board of Education. West New York residents decry the fact that many times people with kids rule out West New York as a place to live because the quality of the schools is poorer than the state average and well below the level of what can be found elsewhere. How can we turn this situation around and make West New York, due to the high quality of the education kids receive, become a place sought after by people with kids as a place they'll want to live? If elected, would you agree to refrain from supporting, endorsing, or financing any candidates for the Board of Education in order to foster the degree of board independence that's essential? Mr. DeFino, 2 minutes, please.
I believe the last part of that question might be the reason why we don't have good quality of education in this town. Especially for the last 2 administrations, we've had an infiltration of the Board of Education by politicians to the point where these teachers are more afraid to do their job or more worried about losing a promotion, a pay raise, whatever it might be, tenure. That has no place in the school system in this town. There should be no involvement with a politician in the Board of Education. I never saw my father, and my mother made this point, go to a Board of Ed meeting unless he was being given an award, because he has no place to influence those people. The people you choose to put there, like I said earlier, reflect your character. If they don't do a good job, why should I have to tell them what to do? They should already know what to do. That's for the children. But when you have teachers who are worried about you have an attorney that was on the OFAC report stating, quote unquote, it's the price, the cost of doing business to pay the mayor $2,000, page 16, to go to his event for his birthday. That's the problem with the Board of Education. And it was no different before, just the way the present mayor stated, our past mayor was the same exact way. He might not have been so obvious about it. Now we have an elected board, so now the mayor can stand out and say, look who I'm supporting, look who I control. And now you can't do anything about it. At least it's in the open. But I think that second part of the question states why we have a poor education system. Okay, I would also think obviously the teachers need to live in town and be more concerned about the area, but it's not their fault. They're being pressured, they're being intimidated, and it's all for money. 3/4 of this town's money comes from the Board of Education. 3/4 of the jobs in this town through the Board of Education. Nobody in the Board of Ed can qualify for food stamps. Thank you.
Dr. Wiley, 2 minutes.
I've had a lot of experience as far as with our Board of Education, as far as fighting for seats. I was a big advocate for the 80%, for the board to be elected. I did agree with that. Because again, sometimes, you might vote somebody believing in what they're saying for the next 4 years. In reality, they come out to be somebody else. And the last place we want to see that affect us and not be able to make that change is the Board of Education, which is for our children. And I mentioned to you before, I do have a 5-year-old that is in the school system. And I have all the interest as far as you do, as far as who's being elected in West New York. And when you ask to say, remember something, I'm a father. I hate the word politician, I call myself a servant. But the reality is I do have an opinion, and my opinion is important also in this community, who I decide to choose, as far as that I want to see be on that board. Now, in the last Board of Ed election, I stayed out of it. I didn't put my face on a flyer. I didn't push any 3 candidates. I didn't put myself out there. I chose to take a step back for many reasons. And you see what happened, not for nothing. You got 4 people back into the board, okay, run by Roque. So, this is a tough question you're asking here as far as, I believe if you have the right leader and you trust in the guy who's presenting that, I will have an opinion, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sit back and let my children's education be decided by other people too. I wanna make sure my opinion is important there also. And as far as the children, I just wanna mention, I missed in the last question, and also as far as being involved with our children, yes. The first year I was here, I went into every school system in West New York. And I had about an auditorium, about 300 to 400 kids, teaching the kids about the quality of the life, as far as recycling, going greener, giving them a nice presentation to look at, a couple of jokes to laugh about. But the beauty is about those meetings I used to have. These children would be so excited to ask a question. Their curiosity and their interest is so deep. And I remember having to stop after an hour. I would have to stop because they would have to go back to the classroom. But this tells me that there is a future here. There is, through our children, this is the way this town will be changed and be done. But you need the right person to make that decision that's going to work hard like I do here in West New York.
Thank you. Cullen?
Thank you. West New York has had 2 distinguished graduates of the New York Military Academy that later became mayor. Mayor Armelino left part of his leg on Omaha Beach in service to his country during World War II. As human as he was with regard to his conviction, Mayor Armelino's West New York schools was second to none in the state. In fact, one of his commissioners was also principal of Memorial High School. Although Mayor DeFino, his successor, transitioned from an elected to an appointed board, the quality of our schools remained relatively high in comparison to our current graduation rates and preparedness for college. Armelino and DeFino also had significant numbers of ESL students, yet managed to turn the language barrier into an opportunity. Neither mayor granted tax abatements that robbed our schools of much-needed local tax revenues. Mayor DeFino's administration, in partnership with our Board of Education, sponsored an adult night school with dozens of courses offered. My mother, she's sitting right over there, took advantage of a low-cost course in oil painting, then painting canvases for the teachers of my brothers and sisters and I. By empowering the parent to rekindle the lamp of learning and discovery, that parent became the best role model for her children. Many parents, unfortunately, must, due to economic circumstances, work full-time, which preclude important structured time after school for the student. Along with reinstituting adult night school, Using a public-private partnership to reduce cost, I would expand the concept of the Western New York Junior Police Academy to other noble academies such as building trades, fine and performing arts, health technologies, cosmetology, to name some. Union City has a fine after-school music program that I would promote here, minus the strings, in consultation with Superintendent Forte and Supervisor of Music Osnowitz. This holistic approach to the total educational needs of our students would synergistically have a positive effect on student learning and performance. If I am elected, I will wholeheartedly endorse the best Board of Education candidates and give them moral support. I will not finance their candidacies, nor will I shake down Board of Education employees for campaign contributions as Mayor Roque has. Thank you.
Do you need the question repeated? You said yes. You good? 2 minutes, please.
Yes, regarding, the Board of Education, I think that the parents and the residents of West New York and the teachers should have a say of how the school is run. I am a proponent of charter schools. I think, that you have better supervision and much better quality teachers in charter schools. In terms of security, they have one police officer per school here. I think he's making about $57 an hour. I think that if we create 3 jobs, bring 3 security officers or special police officers at $15 an hour, I think that we'll have more manpower and spend less money. I know the school system, according to Trenton, New Jersey, West New York ranks 447 in the state. And I think that is not quality. So I will do the best to work within the school board, but I would not bring any politics into it. I think that the parents and the teachers should make those decisions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next topic is education. The state contributes roughly $93 million to our school's $111 million budget, and the School Development Authority manages and funds 100% of eligible project costs in former Abbott school districts such as ours. Do you think there's a need for a new school at the waterfront? Why or why not? And please explain the effect such a school would have on an educational system in town. Normally, a municipality will bond for a new school building. If the School Development Authority will not provide funding for a new school on the waterfront, would you be in favor of bonding and raising taxes specifically for such a project? Many parents in the waterfront area choose not to send their kids to district schools. What do you propose to do to encourage and make it practical for these kids to attend district schools? Mr. Cullen, 2 minutes, please.
Commissioner candidate Thomas Leung, who ran with the MAP team, which finished behind the West New York Kids First 2014 team of Burley Sanchez, Dr. Marie Volpe, and myself, and last November's Board of Education election, fully embraced the concept of a school for the waterfront where he lives, be it public, charter, or private. According to the West New York Reporter, August 31st, 2014 issue, Mr. Leung wanted our Board of Education to do something for the waterfront community. I had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Leung during that campaign. While he was aware that as a Port Imperial condominium owner, he and his fellow Port Imperial dwelling owners receive long-term tax abatements, he was not aware that they pay no school taxes. While I have no issues with candidate Leung seeking a private school for he and his fellow waterfront residents, I have significant concern that he advocated for a public and/or charter school there as well. It is not by accident that schools are not part of the planning board deliberations or the resulting 1996 redeveloper agreement that Mayor Series and Donald Scorinski's law firm, does that name sound familiar? Which represented the developer Roseland, Port Imperial LLC. Series was well aware that he was going to award substantial tax abatements that pay no school taxes, so public and charter schools were out. As a former public school educator, perhaps he felt uneasy about having a private school put in the redeveloper agreement. But that would cost his developer friends too much money, so Mayor Series put West New York on the hook for providing busing, although neither town nor schools were required by statute to do so. Therefore, there is no need for a waterfront school at this time. Given that they pay no local school taxes, it would be grossly unfair for the SDA to fund a public or charter school construction. It is cheaper to bus the waterfront students to our existing public schools than to build or fund them there. I encourage waterfront parents who have been given huge long-term school tax holidays to use that tax saving not to send their children out of district, but to take root in our community and give back as well as take. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Espinal, 2 minutes.
Well, I am in favor of a charter school for the people. Basically, we know for a fact that the school system in West New York is not working. When I go out campaigning down by the waterfront, I see a lot of people telling me that they are moving out of West New York because of the school system. I think that we should use it as a pilot program and maybe as a model for Hudson County and show people that the charter schools do work. And because, right now we have like a tale of two cities. We have the waterfront and we have the people on the other side. So I think that also having a bus to shuttle the children now should be done until the school is completed. And also, you can get grants to build the charter school down there that it will not hurt our budget in West New York. Thank you.
Mr. Wiley, Dr. Wiley, 2 minutes.
As far as the education, all right, again, I've been very involved with the teachers here in West New York. I had 4 for them. There was a situation where the administration was giving themselves a 2% tax raise and was refusing to take care of the teachers themselves. And I remember there was a big war there. We had the State Board of New Jersey there. They were fighting for their people. And long story short, I was right there with them. My father was a union man for over 25 years, local 560. And I always fight for the underdog, and I always fight for the working person. That will never change, so don't ever expect me to do that. But as far as with the school and the kids, I'm gonna give more credit to my school system here in West New York. Because the reality is the teachers here are fantastic. Because, I'm gonna be honest with you, it is. I sit down, when I go to that honor society meeting every year, when we have the big show and we get to award all the students for their great participation in school and their grades, and we actually sat down, there's over 100-something kids up there with high honors. So don't tell me the school system here isn't working, okay? What I believe the problem is that the mayor has not cultivated the relationship with the waterfront. That's the main issue here. He doesn't want to bring them up here. My big issue is to have a shuttle bus here to bring them up to the business district here. Remember, there's a lot of disposable income here, and it's not being spent in West New York. If that would just change alone, the meeting of the two to come together, that would make a big difference here in West New York. As far as our education, I will be in there to change that. I would be irresponsible of me not to participate in that, okay? And one way it will be done will be to put proper board members on there in this board. We have, I'm gonna say, Matthew's been putting up a great fight there, Joan, but again, there are 2 votes against what, 9? I take it 8, 7?
2 and 7.
2 and 7, okay? There's 9 in total. So my point is, I know what they feel like, because I go through the same thing year after year here for the past 4 years in West New York. But we will change that, Matthew, and we will give you proper members here that will make the proper decisions for our children and our education system. And we do have to get rid of the high salaries in the administration here in West New York also. Thank you.
Mr. DeFino, 2 minutes, please.
I agree with the points that Mr. Cullen and Mr. Wiley made. I don't agree with a charter school. Not too many people know. First, starting off with the waterfront. In the last 20 years, this goes back to the first question. Nobody prepared for a school down there? It's on the onus of the new administration now? That's incredible. That's just incredible. A charter school, whether anybody knows it, has so many exclusionary rules that, first of all, the Board of Ed doesn't have any regulation over it, but they're gonna get our money. Secondly, they can tell a child different things than they tell a state child. Your son or daughter goes to school for 6 months, public school has to take them, charter schools don't have to do that. So what are they gonna do, get left back? They can get funding, for private funding for that school, and don't have to disclose to you where they got the money, which can cause problems. Because what if someone's investing in that school for business reasons, and they wanna put soda in the school and it's their soda? These things can go on in the list. That's not right. Secondly, where are you gonna put a school down there? You think the developers are gonna let you do that? Okay? So I agree with Mr. Cullen and Mr. Wiley. You have to give these teachers freedom. Pull the fear of this political threat away from them. They have the best ideas for this town, not just the Board of Ed. The teachers themselves are afraid to publicly come and support somebody with the name DeFino because of the threat that this administration has against them. They're afraid to support anybody who's against the administration, not just me, but they have the best ideas for these kids, and they're willing to do it. They're just afraid of the retribution and the retaliation that comes with it. Okay? Thank you.
And the last but not least topic, parking. And public transportation. No doubt, the two biggest nightmares for the majority of residents of West New York, parking and public transportation. Not only does the current crisis in parking make our town an undesirable place in which to live, it also hurts us economically. People that want to go out to dinner or for any other reason at night, when they may not be able to park their cars on return. Both local residents and residents of other nearby municipalities don't want to shop on Urban Line Avenue because of the lack of parking. When many of us moved here, we enjoyed a quality of life that, among many other benefits, afforded us an easy commute into and back from New York City, a place where we could own and park a car without a problem. Now there is standing room only and lines for public transportation and no places to park. Candidates, are these situations capable of being turned around, and if so, how? Will you be an advocate for the people of West New York with New Jersey Transit and New York Waterway? What creative solutions do you have to offer with regard to either of these problems? Mr. DeFino, 2 minutes, please.
My ideas on the parking authority might be a little extreme, but nothing's been done in this town. I believe with the existing parking lots right now, you should put more decks, 1 or 2 decks, 3 decks, especially Bergen Line behind Modell's. And I'm gonna date myself, the old Woolworths across the street from Miller, okay? 54th Street, same thing. If you put commercial property in here, those parking lots at night will be empty also. But when you allow residential buildings to be built and they don't give you extra parking, they take parking spots from the street also. So you just can't keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting things are gonna get better. It doesn't work like that. We also need to turn around and lower the price of these parking tickets. It's unconscionable that myself or anybody else is gonna pay $29 when you're late on the meter with 25 cents. Okay? $29, yes, I know the number, it's over and over again. I pay about $300 a month in parking tickets, I can't afford that. All right? Everybody who lives in this building might have a spot, but when your friends come here, they need to park somewhere also. You need to be able to give them a spot immediately. You have to drive up to the parking authority to get the ticket. That's a great idea. That's a problem though, when they come back, there's no spot for them. Okay, so we need to have more parking where it's at now. You can't create more parking unless you put decks on the parking lot. Secondly, there are certain streets in this town that you should go diagonal with, like 60th Street. When it was not diagonal, you have 2/3 more spots when you go diagonal. As long as the fire trucks or emergency vehicles can go down that road like Cullen, you should do that. But other than that, you cannot make parking out of nothing. So if you sell a parking lot, you're condemning the people in that area to drive around for 1 or 2 hours. I've driven around 3 hours for a spot. And I have to park in front of the EMTs, and they've been gracious, but I've gotten tickets there also. Regular people, rich people, can't afford $400 a month in tickets.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Wiley, 2 minutes, please.
Parking is one of our biggest issues, as Anthony have said. I mean, that's the one thing I hear every single day of the year. Doesn't matter what day it is, the parking. A ton of people lining up to buy $3 passes to put in their car. They just increased the fees from $30 a year to $300 and something a year, $30 a month now for a visitor's pass. Yes, okay, and if they bring that in front of the board, I will refuse that, believe me. And I believe that has to come in front of the commissioners. I believe there's a way of creating revenue, but this is not one of the ways. And again, as I said, I don't want my residents to be beat up. Remember, I'm here to support you, I'm here for you, not to beat you up with tickets, take money from you to get money into my revenue. And that's what's been happening here in West New York. You know, they've gotten desperate, they're not doing anything creative within in town hall, so they might as well do something else with the parking authority. Remember, the town receives a portion of those tickets. The one thing also, big issues like Broadway, Park Avenue, the hours that was promised by Roque, that he was supposed to change the hours from 9 to 6. You know, when people coming home in the evening, 5:30, 6 o'clock, you park in your car, you still gotta feed meters in the quarters in the meter until 8:30, 9 o'clock. You know, and especially in high residential areas like Park Avenue, 66th Street, you guys wait 4 hours to get a parking space. I'm gonna be more considerate and more merciful to my community, and I will listen and I will make those changes. Proper construction, again, you know, again, 66th Street, the parking authority actually went behind closed doors and tried to sell off the 66th Street property, okay? And then they assured me that there would be the same spaces there with the building on top of it. So I couldn't imagine how big that building would have had to be to provide the spaces for their people and also the people in the community. So I'm not gonna be fooled. I'm not here for business, guys. I'm here to serve you and make the difference and better quality of life for you. That's my whole interest here in West New York. The other thing I'd like to say, I wrote down a bunch of stuff, guys. As far as New Jersey and New Jersey Transit, you know, let's have a study done here. You know, not for nothing, I walk on the boulevard a lot, I'm always in the community, okay? I really don't see that packing, maybe it happens at 6:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock. But when I'm usually out around 8, 9 o'clock, I don't see too much, you know, backing up in the community. But, okay, thank you. That is so much.
We don't need surveys from the Department of Transportation. I don't think they do.
In terms of parking, I think that on Saturday and Sundays, there should be no meters on Bergen Line. So people can go there freely and shop, and you create more business, people can go to the restaurants and eat, and don't have to worry. A few things I have seen. We have to do a study on how many valid people with disabilities parking. Because you have a lot of people that are not even around anymore and they still have their handicap parking. That's number one. Number two, we have a lot of yellow lines that are kind of extended, that could be shortened, okay, to create more parking. Another thing, you have a lot of homeowners that they use their garage for other purposes and still take parking outside. That's another issue. Then you have another homeowners that have 6 and 7 cars in the alley that they are renting, and we're not getting no money back. Okay, so those issues have to be done. I think that the town should take over the parking. It is privatized. I don't see how. I think that we should take it back to the town. And God forbid they tow your car. You have to go all the way down to Maine. No, you have to go to Maine and get it, and then pay money there, pay money to get it back. I think that we should have our own towing in West New York.
Who's doing the touring?
Maine towing.
M-A-I-N, not state.
And sometimes they give you 2 tickets. Okay, and they don't give you no breaks. Yes.
There are 2 companies.
They have
One
two
on 54th and Donnelly, to Municipal Park.
It is the same.
No,
Yes.
different owners.
Well,
Because I once got
but those are the things. The other things, the parking, meter mains. They should have some decent uniforms. Okay, you don't even know who the meter mains are.
That's all, thank you.
That's it?
I'm not,
Okay, thank you.
anything that anybody
I
wants
park?
to say, put in your closing remarks.
Yeah.
Mr. Cullen, 2 minutes.
But I didn't answer number 10 yet.
He's ready.
He's ready. right, he got
I didn't answer number 10 yet.
No, this is for number 10, I didn't,
Okay.
I
Okay,
was
thank you.
referring that if people didn't finish what they wanted to say, they can put that in their closing remarks.
All right, thank you.
You're answering number 10, thank you.
With regard to public transportation, prior West New York planners contributed to this crisis by not seeing that they are increasing of population densities along with Boulevard East would exacerbate this problem. As the Port Authority bus terminal in Midtown Manhattan has reached its carrying capacity, we must unfortunately work with non-NJT mass transit, provided we regulate it to prevent future tragic deaths like we had a year or so ago. Buses are so overcrowded that it's ironically become a necessity for some traveling to New York City in the morning to have to get up earlier and take a bus in the opposite direction just to catch a New York bound bus that isn't filled to capacity. I've heard this story a lot of times. If non-NJT buses could be brought up to the same safety standards of NJT buses, more riders would surely feel safe to use them. Getting the Port Authority bus terminal to allow these smaller buses to quickly drop off would be a harder sell, but I would try to do it. Actually, I will do it. Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. The parking nightmare is huge. I will do the following in this order. No metered spots would increase, but I will, after a modest parking study, add permanent lined parking spaces to all non-handicapped or non-yellow zone parking areas. This will eliminate wasted parking spaces. Violators will be ticketed. Parking Authority will be able to recover more of its $8 million debt that is in the hole for it. One side of Hudson Avenue and Palisade Avenue from 49th to 60th Street will remain as parallel parking. The other side will become the 120-degree angle parking that Tony DeFino talked about, thus adding, I would say, 100% more parking in those areas. Going forward, new town ordinances will require that developments began or completed after said new ordinance will be required to have all vehicles used by its residences to register their vehicles with the Parking Authority and not be permitted to park overnight on any street since they are required by state and local zoning laws to have off-street parking. I'm referring to new developments, not existing ones. Thank you.
Wow. Cover a lot of territory tonight. Topics, development, open government, form of government, tax abatements, municipal debt, cleanliness of streets, city parks, quality of education, the waterfront school, and police parking. So, my goodness, I want to thank Joshua, concerned citizens, for asking some great questions, and of course the candidates for being so prepared for them tonight. We are going into closing statements, we're going to go in reverse order. So if I could ask Mr. Cullen to start his closing with 2 minutes, please.
Thank you very much for the League of Women's Voters, Joshua Breakstone, and concerned citizens. Thank you for the press for being here. Thanks for my mother and my family, uncle, and my friends for being here. This town is in deep trouble financially. We are crowded at the seams, and we have an administration that is asleep at the switch, asleep at the wheel. We have good candidates up here. Some of them are independents like myself, others represent full or partial slates. I hope you will do due diligence, because the best ticket that you could possibly vote for would be a split ticket. Absolutely would be. The best 5 candidates are across all 6 categories. So please do that when you vote. What else? Charter schools, I have to respectfully disagree with Mr. Espinal. Although I think it would make a good commissioner, the problem is with charter schools is that there is the us and them mentality, where the people that can take advantage of that because they feel that they're not up to speed will arbitrarily be left out because they wouldn't apply for such things. There have been studies done on this, and I have actually substituted at various charter schools, including the one in Hoboken, and I've seen that these charter schools are whiter than the complexion of our town, which is 80% non-English speaking of various ethnicities. So therefore, I'm totally against charter schools. I thank the opportunity for the voters to make the best decision possible, and please don't forget to vote on May 12th. Thank you.
Ms. Espinal, 2 minutes, please.
Yes, thank you. Basically, I would like to thank all of you for attending. I hope to see you guys again on the streets. while walking and, getting more information to be better prepared before May 12th. Like, Mr. Cullen said, we do have a very good slate. We have good people running. I hope that the League of Women's Voters next election, they have at least one or two women be up here running for mayor. I think that would be refreshing, knowing that you are the top of the line people that vote in West New York are mostly women, if you didn't know that. I think that will go along with the online registration for your parking, so you don't have to go in December in that snow and wait online. And it was bitter cold. And I couldn't understand that if you got your permit, your registration, your parking registration sticker on March, why do you have to renew in December? Why not next March? Right? So that makes sense. So that's another reason why the town should take over the parking authority, and it should not be privatized. In terms of the police department, I think that they're doing a very good job. However, with 32 years of experience, they're very top heavy. They're very top heavy. I get elected, that had to be renewed because we have 5 captains when we should have 1. We have 19 lieutenants when we should have 5. And we have over 16 sergeants. And we have some sergeants that don't have no people to supervise. And there's a lot of money. So that will create a little release money for our budget. Thank you very much, y muchas gracias.
DeFino, 2 minutes, please.
I'd like to start off by touching on the split ticket mentioned by Cullen. Patrick, I'm sorry. People do not realize in this town that you do not have to vote straight down a ticket. Obviously, with Mr. Cullen, Mr. Espinal, and his running mate, Ms. Stefanetti, you have to vote for a split ticket. You can't just vote for the 2 of them and nobody else. In effect, you voted for a split ticket. So you can vote for any 5 you want. And people, anyone who tells you differently than that is deceiving you, okay? Take it from me, you can vote for whomever you want when you move in that booth, okay? Any which direction you want. I've been told Chinese checkers. Use the word Chinese checkers, that's what it is. Vote for whomever you want. Any 5 people you vote for, if they cannot come together as a unit, better than 5 people who are already together, then we're in trouble. We're in trouble. I think it would be better to have 2 or 3, whatever the mix and match is, they would have to work together. You represent different people, different parts of the community. You're forced to do that, okay? I haven't met anybody in this town that's as normal, as far as running right now, as the people I'm with on my ticket. They're normal people. There's not an ounce of politics in them. You're gonna see them in the street. I know politics, okay? I never ran for office in this town because I despise this game, all right? I've heard this quote from you, Mr. Wiley. Nobody's looking to beat anybody up, but I will smack somebody around a little if they don't clean up their dog, or if they drop dirt on the street. Why not? They need to be fined. You're giving them a warning 1,200 times, 4 times you give them a ticket, they're gonna keep doing it. So sometimes it's okay to smack somebody around a little, because it's your town, you have to have some authority. I know you'll agree with me outside, okay? But the reality is, and that's obviously a joke, don't take that seriously, all right? As far as the charter schools, I think the exclusionary part of it is the most fearful part. It's dangerous to sit there and say, they'll do a better job than the people are here already. You've already given up faith in your people. The people run the government does not run the people.
Thank you. Dr. Wiley, 2 minutes, please.
I appreciate, like, the gentleman running, the candidates, I wish you all luck, number 1. But the reality is here, we need experience. We need somebody that knows what they're doing and they're off and running. West New York cannot afford another learning curve here in West New York. As we learned with Roque here and his other commissioners. Nothing got done in the first year, absolutely nothing but investigations and corruption. My team, I want to explain a little bit about it. These people I chose on my ticket have not been chosen a month ago or a month and a half ago. These are people who have been chosen by me over a 3-year period. People I've watched, people who are committed to the town meetings, people who went to them and actually participated in the town functions to make sure they were fighting for things that matter to the community. And those are the 4 candidates I have with me. Also, I want to mention As for my record, it speaks for itself. I really don't have to explain myself too much because I'm probably one of the most active commissioners you'll ever see in the street. A lot of people call me mayor already. And the reality is because they see me more than they see him. And I am there for the people. I'm always there, and I never will stop doing that. And neither will any one of the other future commissioners on my ticket that will be. I also wanted to say last couple of things. You know, remember, all these issues that you're having here, tax abatements, you know my heart towards them will never happen. I value West New York a lot more than other people do here. The municipal debt, we will work hard to remove that and lower that municipal debt. I have many of ideas, creative ideas, just through that garbage issue, stopping the commercial garbage. I will save $1 million in the first year. The other issue are parks, with no doubt in my mind. I told you my children are my first priority. So never remember, I always have that in mind. And our parking situation, again, that will be taken care of. The money, reducing the meters again back to 6 o'clock, giving you a normal lifestyle, a quality of life that you deserve, to be able to go home and lay in your bed and go to sleep after work. The last thing I want to say, I love West New York. I love what I do, guys. I committed myself to this for the last 8 years of my life. I've missed one meeting in 8 years. That's because I'm committed to what I do here in West New York, and I want you to know my heart and my passion is still alive in me and my fire. But it's up to you to elect me and my team. Thank you, Cullen D. Thank you.
Thank the candidates for coming out, the audience, you've been great, and Josh brings me, it's my first historic event, this is very exciting. So thank you very much for that opportunity. Don't forget to vote May 12th, and Joshua has a few words.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank our moderator and our timer from League of Women Voters who did such a fantastic job. Thank our 4 distinguished and exceptional candidates. I really think that was great, and we really appreciate your participation. Thank our audience, those of you who are on our mailing list and our official concerned citizens. For any of you who are not on our email list, Humberto has a sign up right there at the back table. Please don't fail to sign up before you leave. We'll keep you informed on what's going on. We also have the applications to vote by mail, and you can pick them up. And thank you for attending, and we will see you sometime soon.